All right, ladies and gentlemen, today we are going to do a Hogwarts House Crest zip bag using printed vinyl. So one of the things that you will note when you've ordered your printed vinyl is that while it is 13.74 inches tall, it is only 7 3/4 inches wide. When you're doing a zip bag that is 7 inches wide, that's going to be a problem. So I've come up with a zip bag design that lets you use your pretty printed vinyl, but keeps the orientation of the printing correct. So what you're going to need today is obviously a Hogwarts House Crest zip bag from String Theory Fabric Arts, either a D-ring or a lobster claw, approximately 3 inches of 7/8 inch gross grain ribbon, a zipper that's at least 8 inches long. You also want to make sure that it's plastic teeth. So if you see coil, nylon, plastic, those are all great. Don't get a metal zipper. You will hate yourself. You're going to need your printed vinyl. This bag is going to use glitter marine vinyl. I got this from Mickery. You'll need a piece of back. For the back of the bag, I just used plain old black marine vinyl. My bags always have a piece of felt on the inside of the bag to hide the embroidery, and your stitch sheet. So for those of you who like to be organized, your vinyl is going to be, where is my ruler? There it is. Your vinyl is going to be 6 inches, or your felt is going to be 6 inches by 9 inches. Your back is going to be 6 by 8. Your two little pieces of glitter marine vinyl are both going to be 2.5 inches wide. One is going to be 4 3/4 inches high. The other's 2.5 inches wide and 1.5 inches tall. You're going to cut, and keep in mind your pattern. All right, you want to square it off and make sure that you've got a nice pretty pattern centered. One piece will be 5.5 inches wide by 4 3/4 inches high. The other piece will be 1.5 inches high by 5.5 inches wide. All right, like every good in the hoop project starts, you're going to hoop some medium weight cutaway. I'm going to go throw this in the machine. I'll be back in a minute. On stitch orders, when you buy a pattern, you'll get a PDF usually that has your color stops. That is, when designing for a one needle home embroidery machine, a way that the designer forces your machine to stop dead so that you can do something. For a normal fill embroidery pattern, it's just a color change. You take one color out, put the next one in. For an in the hoop project, designers use all kinds of colors to get you to stop your machine so that you can lay something down in the hoop. Okay, so my first color stop was a duckwing blue, and mine are always coated for Madeira rayon thread chest. And that first one is a single stitch right here. That is a die line, a positioning stitch. That's telling you that you need to put your gross grain ribbon and either your D-ring or your lobster claw. For this one, I'm going to use my lobster claw. So the D-ring goes away. You fish your ribbon through your lobster claw, even up the raw ends. You're going to tape it so that about 1/2 inch, maybe 1/4 inch, sticks into the bag. Do not put your tape directly on the die line. And then, because this bad boy is metal and you don't want it flopping around and smacking underneath your needle and breaking a needle, I always secure either the D-ring or the lobster claw up and out of the way. And now we go through it in the machine and tack that down. Okie dokie pokies, I ran color stop number 2 to tack down my gross grain ribbon, but I also ran color stop number 3, which is my die line for the entire bag, as well as my placement stitches for my zipper. So You can do all of this a couple of ways. I use masking tape because cellophane tape and I have a hate-hate relationship because I have no nails. Masking tape peels off, it's cheap, it's easy. The other thing you can use is something like Dritz spray adhesive 505, maybe I think June Taylor still makes a basting spray. This stuff is fine. It will not gum up your needle. The only reason that I don't like to use it is because you do have to wait a full 3 to 5 minutes between spraying, placing, before you can sew again. And I'm just like this. I don't want to wait around. So I use masking tape. So on our stitch order sheet, our next step is going to be this 4. That is going to tack down my zipper, so I need to place my zipper. You'll notice I've got, oops, sorry. Obviously, first time doing this. You'll notice I've got a die line here and a die line here. When you place your zipper, you want to make sure that there's at least 1 inch from the end of the die line to the metal on the zipper, and at least 1 inch from this end to your metal zipper. Okay, these teeth are plastic though, so you should be good to go. The fun part on this one is getting the zipper perfectly placed. So I do it in 2 steps. First, I align the upper right, and I want to be just barely covering the bottom and top die line. And I put a little piece of tape to hold it in place. Then I come down here, smoothing and straightening my zipper all the way down. And I want to cover the top and just barely cover the bottom. I put my little piece of tape in place. While I do the big tape. I tape at the top just barely 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch, covering the ribbon of the zipper. And I do the same at the bottom. And you're going, holy cow, that's a lot of tape. Yes, and I'm trying to force you to use a lot of tape as well because I own stock in 3M. Back in a minute. All right, we just did color stop 4. We're going to be doing color stop 5 next. That's to tack down your printed vinyl. But before we do that, we've got a little cleanup to do. We can go ahead and remove these little pieces of tape, but you want to keep them handy because we'll be using these guys again. There's no sense in wasting perfectly good tape. Okay, you'll notice on this guy right here, he got stitched down. It's really easy with masking tape to pull it up because it wants to tear along the perforation. So it's not going to be any big deal to get these guys up and out of the way. Okay, you want to clip your jumps so they're not getting in your way. And you want to make sure you got the last 2 little masking tape up. There you go. Okay, so I want you to take a real good look right here at this die line. This is a placement line for your printed vinyl. And this is the trickiest part of this bag, guaranteed. So you've already cut your printed vinyl. You want to lay this printed vinyl so that it is right against those stitches and right against your zipper. Just like that. Now, you're going to have to get the machine to stitch that without anything moving. So the trick to this is, guess what? Tape. Okay? So I am going to put a little bit of tape down here, making sure that I can see that line just barely. And then I'm going to come up here and temporarily tape this one right here. And I'll show you why temporarily, because you also, on this step, are going to tape down or tack down on the machine your top piece of vinyl. So you're going to place the top piece the same way. You want to be able to see those stitches right up against them, and you want to be right up against your zipper as well. So now all of my printed vinyl is laid where I want it. I'm going to secure it so that as the machine is moving, it's not jerking around and becoming unaligned. Oops. There you go. There you go. And I'm going to put one more piece down here, all the way at the end. Okay. Now I'm going to go slap this in the machine, and you'll see how very close to the edge of this vinyl the tack stitch is. Don't sweat it. You're like, oh my God, that's going to pull out. Shortly we're going to, once we've placed this vinyl as well, we're going to do a satin to hold it all together. Be back. All right, easy peasy. See how very close to that line is? And before you go, well, maybe if I cheat over a little bit, I'll feel less paranoid about it. Remember, we've got to put a piece of glitter vinyl here. So the more you cheat over, the less of an edge this other tack stitch is going to have. So before we go too much further, we're going to remove our tape. And for you guys with fingernails, this is way easier. I have no fingernails, so I have to, in tweezers we trust. Sometimes the perf, or the way I tear, doesn't work great, so I get a little bit left over. That's okay. You just grab your tweezers and pull it out. Okay, we'll do the other one. Let's see if I can get this one off better than I did the last one. Yes! As I'm now paying attention to what I'm doing rather than just running my mouth. Okay. We also want to clip that jump stitch right there. And away she goes. Now we grab our pieces of glitter vinyl. Okay, this one is 2.5 inches wide by 4 3/4 inches high. You want to bucket right up against the teeth and right up against the piece of vinyl we've already laid down. This one is 2.5 inches wide by 1.5 inches tall. Repeat step 1 with step 2. And now back to the tape. Okay, make sure that you are all the way against the teeth and all the way against this other piece of vinyl. Okay, and then we come up and do the top one. Bucked against, bucked against. That wants to pop up, so guess what? We're going to make it lay down like that. Make that lay down. Make that lay down. All right, we're going to go throw it in the machine. Back in a minute.